Byron Jones is the number 100 player on my big board, and he is my 15th ranked edge rusher in the 2023 class. He is 6'2", 250 pounds, and clocked a 4.43 40-yard dash at the combine. His overall relative athletic score is a 9.0 on a 10-point scale. In 2022, he recorded 37 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, and 42 pressures. Young has outstanding athleticism that allows him to win off the edge early in downs. He changes directions very well, and he has the ankle flexion to be able to bend around the edges and dip under offensive tackles to finish plays. He has a high motor and competes hard on every down, including being an active defender in the rushing game. However, he's slow off the ball at times, and he often leads with a false step, which mitigates a lot of his quickness and athleticism. When he can't win with speed, he struggles to adapt, and he displays poor pass rush plans and hand usage techniques. His lower body and his upper body often are not synced up, which causes problems in his rush counters and his ability to anchor against the run. Young comes to the NFL from a pretty unique background, and he was not recruited out of high school and worked as an assistant manager at Dollar General before walking on at Georgia Military College in 2019. Despite their 2020 season being canceled, the team continued to practice, and highlights of Young in practice went viral, leading to his recruitment by Tennessee. Because of his unique pathway, he's very late to the draft and will be 25 years old on draft night, making him a huge gamble as a project player. I believe Young fits best with an odd front defense that wants to use him as a rusher from a 2-point stance. A.T. Perry is the number 99 overall player on my big board and my number 13 wide receiver in this class. He is a 3-star recruit out of high school with a background in both basketball and track. He is 6'4", 198 pounds, and ran a 4.47 40 at the combine. His overall relative athletic score is a 9.24. In 2022, he recorded 81 receptions for 1,096 yards, which is 13.5 yards per reception, and he hauled in 11 touchdown passes. Perry is a big-bodied wide receiver who excels at tracking deep balls, adjusting to them, and then high-pointing them in traffic, hauling in 11 contested catches during the 2022 season. Now, he hauls in a lot of contested catches because he doesn't do a great job of creating separation from his routes, but he does work back to the throws well, and he does a very good job of sealing defenders off from making a play on the ball with his body. He struggles to play through contact early in routes. He's especially susceptible to press coverage for a receiver his size, and he takes a while to get up to his top speed once he's free and clear. It takes him time to gear down and change directions as well, which circles back to those issues with creating separation that I already mentioned. On top of that, he's accumulated 17 drops over the last 2 seasons and has a career 10.4% drop rate. I think Perry's best fit in the NFL level will be with a team looking for a developmental X wide receiver who can win in contested catch situations downfield, but won't be heavily relied upon early in his career as he develops his route running ability and his hands. Zach Harrison is the number 98 overall player on my big board and my number 14 edge rusher in the class. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school and is 6'6", 274 pounds, a big-bodied guy. He's 98th percentile in arm length. He's 21 years old, and in 2022 he recorded 34 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 1 interception, 4 passes defensed, and 3 forced fumbles. Harrison has rare length and straight line explosiveness for an edge rusher. He reportedly ran a 10.8 second 100 meter dash when he was in high school. And he uses that combination of length and explosiveness to generate advantages early in pass rushing reps, but he's often unable to capitalize to finish them with sacks. However, when he does get to the QB, he swipes at the ball as he goes in for tackles, and that results in strip sacks and forced fumbles, of which he had several over his career. When he's stonewalled as a rusher, he does a really good job of finding the quarterback's eyes and then getting his hands up into passing windows to deflect passes. Now, for a player whose best trait is his speed, Harrison is far too slow to fire off the ball. He needs a lot of work at the next level on snap timing. If he wants to win as a speed rusher in the NFL, he's got to get out of his stance faster. He also has trouble bending around the edge and often allows his rushing lane to carry him too far upfield, and he gives the quarterback a way to escape, and that's part of his problem with finishing those rushes. I believe Harrison projects early in his career as a two-down player to the NFL, where he can use his plus size in the running game as he tries to bring along and develop elements in his pass rushing game. I think he fits best as a 4-3 rotational defensive end who can occasionally kick inside in certain specific passing situations. Chase Brown is the number 97 overall player on my big board and my number 8 ranked running back in this class. He was a 3-star recruit out of high school and chose to attend Illinois along with his twin brother Sidney Brown, who is a safety. And their dad played 3 seasons in the CFL, so they've got a pedigree of football. In high school, he ran track, and it shows up in his workouts at the combine. He is 5'9", 209 pounds, and so he's a little undersized, but the rest of his spider chart is incredible. 88th percentile bench. He had 94th percentile vertical jump with a 40-inch vertical that was first this season at the combine. His 10.7 broad jump was also first, and he ran a 4.43 40-yard dash. He has a relative athletic score of a 9.79. In 2022, he rushed for 1,642 yards, which is at 5 yards per carry. With 10 touchdowns, he also added 27 receptions for 240 yards and 3 touchdowns. He is an explosive athlete with track speed. He had 23 runs of 15-plus yards this season, and he handled a full workload, which shows he can be more than just a rotational back at the next level. He led all Power 5 running backs in carries with 329, and he was second in forced missed tackles at 83 behind only Bijan Robinson, who is most people's running back 1 in this class. He's also a good pass catcher. He's effective as a check down guy and in the screen game, and so you can use him out of the backfield. Now, for his weaknesses, he doesn't play through contact particularly well, especially between the tackles, and so his missed tackles are not necessarily running through guys, it's making them miss, and he has poor ball security. He has 8 fumbles in his career, including 5 this season. I think he's a good fit as a workhorse back in a wide zone rushing scheme. Chase Brown is going to be a great pickup for someone on day 2. Sean Tucker is the 96th overall player on my big board and my number 7 ranked running back in this class. He was a 3-star recruit out of high school who had a track background, and he actually also ran track at Syracuse. On the football field, he had back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons in 2021 and 2022, and actually in 2021 he set the single-season school record with 1,496 rushing yards, and he was second among all Power 5 backs in yards after contact between Kenneth Walker. He is 5'9", 207 pounds, and he's about 21 and a half years old. In 2022, he had a 1,060-yard rushing season at 5.1 yards per carry. He also had 11 touchdowns and 36 receptions for 254 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. Sean Tucker hits his top speed fast, and he possesses true breakaway speed, and I'm sad that he didn't run at the combine because I think he would have turned in really good times. He's light on his feet, and he's hard to square up in the open field, and he has great ball security. This is not someone who puts the ball in the turf. You can trust him with the ball in his hands. Now, he doesn't have a very creative running style, but he just constantly drives his feet through contact and breaks tackles. As for his weaknesses, he is a poor pass blocker. He is not someone that you want to trust to square up blitzing linebackers or defensive ends, and he's inconsistent as a receiver. He was plagued by drops in his college career, dropping 10 of 73 passes that came his way. And so you can't trust him a lot on passing downs. It sort of pigeonholes him into a 2-down back at the next level. He's also at times a little bit indecisive behind the line of scrimmage. I think you could put him in a gap scheme or a zone scheme. He might fit a little better in a gap scheme so he doesn't have to use his vision behind the line of scrimmage. But Sean Tucker is going to be a two-down back who can run downhill successfully for an NFL team. Christopher Smith II is my 95 overall rated player on my big board and my 19th ranked defensive back in this class. He's a 4-star recruit out of high school who saw limited action in his first 2 years with Georgia. But starting in 2020, he got more playing time and became a staple of that Georgia defense over the last 2 seasons. He is 5'11", 192 pounds, and ran a 4.62 40 at the Combine. Now, his athletic performance at the Combine wasn't very good. He has a 2.77 relative athletic score, and he'll be just under 23 years old on draft night. In 2022, he had 61 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 3 interceptions, 5 passes defensed, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. When you watch Christopher Smith, you see versatility. He played all over the Georgia defense. In the last 2 years, he took 639 snaps at deep safety, 108 snaps in the box, and 248 snaps in the slot. He has a high football IQ and has coach on the field tendencies before the snap. You would often see him getting guys lined up appropriately for the looks the offense gave. He has good ball skills and production, does a really good job playing the ball at the catch point, and he triggers downhill against the run really well from depth. As for his weaknesses, he is a poor tackler. He often goes for big hits. He doesn't wrap up very well at the point of contact, and he struggles to shed blocks from climbing offensive linemen. For those reasons, I don't think his best fit in the NFL is in the slot. You need a better run defender, block shedder in the slot. But I think his best fit is going to be a deep safety. That's where he played the majority of his snaps. It allows him to trigger downhill and to see everything in front of him and use his football IQ to its highest potential. So Christopher Smith, I think, is a day 2 pick who's going to be a decent developmental safety for an NFL team. Luke Schoonmaker is the 94 ranked player on my big board and my number 8 tight end in this class. He was a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, and he actually played quarterback, tight end, wide receiver, and cornerback before committing to Michigan. He is 6'5", 251 pounds. He is a 5th-year senior, so he'll be 25 years old during his rookie season. At the Combine, he ran a 4.63 40-yard dash, which is 83rd percentile. His broad jump was 95th percentile, and he ended with a 9.86 relative athletic score. In 2022, he had 35 receptions for 418 yards, which is 11.9 yards per receptions, and 3 touchdowns. Schoonmaker is a very good blocker, and Michigan used him a lot in line blocking in the running game. He has really good hand placement and grip strength, and it allows him to seal the edges against linebackers and even against defensive ends in the running game. In the passing game, he excels at finding soft spots in zone coverage. He's not the greatest route runner, but he understands leverage well, and he finds those soft spots in the zone to sit down and make himself available to the quarterback. And if you try to get up on the line and cause problems, he fights through the trash, he fights through contact really easily in his releases. And he does have the speed to threaten up the seam. He's not elite speed, but he can make a linebacker carry him up the seam to open things up underneath for someone else. Now, he doesn't have a lot of passing production. He only has 1 season over 200 yards receiving because he was never a focal point of the passing attack. That doesn't mean he can't do it, but he wasn't asked to do it a lot in college. And I mentioned the route running. He does struggle to separate against man coverage. He doesn't often get yards after the catch. Sort of what you see is what you get on passing plays with Schoonmaker. I think his ideal fit would be an inline Y tight end in a run-heavy offense where he can generate displacement on defensive ends and get to the second level blocking downhill. Nathaniel Tank Dell is the number 93 ranked player on my big board and my number 12 wide receiver in the class. He signed with Alabama A&M and redshirted in 2018 after he sustained an opening game injury. Then he moved to Independence Community College in 2019 before going to Houston in 2020. In 2021, he would earn third-team All-American and first-team All-Conference honors with a 109 reception for 1,398 yards and 17 touchdown performance. He's 23 and a half years old. Now, he's very small at 5'8", 165 pounds with 30.5-inch arms. You can see his spider chart is just tiny. He ran a 4.49 40 at the combine with a 1.49 10-yard split, which is 93rd percentile, and he ended with a 5.81 relative athletic score. At Houston, Dell lined up mostly in the slot, but he did take reps at outside receiver, and he even took some snaps in the backfield. He wins with suddenness. He's got very quick feet. He can snap off his routes with precision. He can change directions on a dime. He is electric with the ball in his hands, routinely making guys miss in the open field and picking up lots of yardage after the catch. He's also got very good punt return ability, which is huge for guys that are going to go a little later in the draft to get them on the field, get them on active rosters early in their career. Now, he is unbelievably small. There's not a single receiver in the NFL who started under 170 pounds last season, and so Dell is an outlier in both height and weight. And it shows up on his film because he cannot get off of press coverage if a defensive back lands his jam at the line of scrimmage. He also needs to work on his hands. He dropped 21 passes over the last 2 seasons on 220 catchable targets. I think he projects to the NFL as a slot receiver with special teams ability to help get him on the field early in his career. Zach Kuntz is the number 92 rated player on my big board and my 7th ranked tight end in the class. He is a 5-star recruit who enrolled at Penn State before later transferring to Old Dominion. In 2021, he had a great season, 692 yards receiving, but he only played 5 games in 2022 before being injured, and he only had 144 yards receiving in those 5 games. He is a physical freak at 6'7", 255 pounds. I mean, look at his spider chart. It's just a shaded in circle. He had a 10.0 relative athletic score at the combine after he had 96th percentile broad jump, 97th percentile vertical jump, and 92nd percentile 40-yard dash times. He has outstanding size and athleticism at the tight end position, and he was used as a move piece in college. He took snaps in line, he took snaps in the slot, he even took snaps as the isolated wide receiver split out wide in formations. He runs really good routes. You would expect it from a 5-star prospect, but he does. He threatens defenders with his speed vertically, and then he's able to snap his routes off underneath. He's also good at finding the soft spots in zone, and he improvises well in scramble drill situations. He never stops moving until a play is over. Now, as for his weaknesses, despite his athletic profile, he's not really a big yards after the catch threat. He goes down pretty easily with the ball in his hands, and he struggles as a blocker. I think he plays too upright, and he surrenders his chest to defenders who are able to get into him and generate displacement in the run game. I think his scheme fit is more of a F tight end, your flex tight end that you're going to split out more. I wrote in my report that he plays more like a wide receiver than he does a tight end, and so he's a piece that you can use with a lot of versatility. Just don't ask him to line up in line and block a lot. But for a day 3 pick, which is where I think Kuntz might fall, you could do a lot worse than getting the most athletic tight end to ever test at the combine. Kayshon Boutte is the number 91 overall player on my big board and my 11th ranked wide receiver in this class. He burst onto the scene in the SEC in 2020, where he was a freshman All-American, and he set the SEC single-game receiving record with 308 yards against Ole Miss. He started the first 6 games in 2021, but then missed the rest of the year with an ankle injury that ended up requiring 2 surgeries. And in 2022, he started 10 games and had 48 receptions for 538 yards and 2 touchdowns. He will only be 20 years old on draft night. He is 5'11", 195 pounds, and he ran a 4.5 40 at the combine and had a vertical jump of 29 inches, which is only 2nd percentile. He ended with a relative athletic score of a 5.31. Boutte is dangerous with the ball in his hands. He's highly elusive as a runner. He runs with a running back, like a running back with the ball in his hands. And so he's really hard to bring down. And although he didn't run well at the combine, on tape, he looks fast. Like, he's explosive. He was given a lot of off-coverage looks in college because of his speed, and that gave the chance for LSU to get the ball to him fast and let him use his yak ability in the open field, something he's specialized at. Now, as for his weaknesses, he struggles to get off of press coverage, and so you're playing with fire if you press him, but if you're able to get hands on him, if you land the punch, he struggles to get off of it, and he's bad in contested catch situations. He was only 12 for 36 in his career in those situations. He's a body catcher. He doesn't extend to get the ball, and so that limits his catch radius. He also had drop injuries at LSU with an 11% career drop rate, and at times he's just inconsistent. He'll go from looking really good to just looking disinterested from snap to snap. I think he fits best at the next level as either a Z receiver, your deep threat guy, or a slot receiver who can avoid press coverage. And there you have it, the number 91 through 100 overall players on my big board. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube at ShaneHalfNFL. Be sure you give me a follow on Twitter at @halfandhalf_TPL. I will have videos like these coming out every week in the run-up to the draft detailing my top 100 prospects. So keep it tuned and make sure you don't miss the next video.